And welcome to an episode of You First. That's right. I'm your host, Shawanna Kennedy. And I get today to be joined by the lovely Camille Nash. That's right. She stopped by so we could talk just a little bit about self-care and what that looks like being a CEO. Camille is known for being a multimedia titan, right? But also help build up who you are and what you are in your business, right? She gets to go into corporations to help them be better, but she also does some inner work to help them to think about who they are individually, because knowing that it definitely does affect them on the corporate level. So I'm excited to welcome to You First, Miss Camille Nash. Hello, Camille. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, hello.
How you doing? Welcome to what? You First. I'm excited.
I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, how's it going? What's going on in your world? What's going on in your world?
Well, what's going on in my world? It's always a lot going on in my world. Working with a couple internationals right now, and really excited personally about finally finishing a book that I've been working on for a long time, and a couple master classes that are coming. So I got a lot of things happening. Just really excited about this season in my life, personally, and just gearing up for all of it. You know, the pandemic, or like I like to call it, the pandemic, took away some time from us all. But I still believe that it definitely gifted us with the opportunity to rise and shine in ways that we've never risen before. So I am delighted that you have me in this space today, so we can talk about how to rise, how to rise.
When you think about what you get to do corporately, it's like having that conversation to say, yes, you have many conversations and you do tons of negotiating in business.
My favorite.
Yeah. Hey, let's say that part too, because it's not always, yes, it's not about it being a bad thing, but when we pause just for a moment and have a you first conversation, right? Because I do believe that it is about you in order for us to be of greater service to others. You already know it has to start with us first. And that then having the conversation with people who deal with other people, who understand the pressures and the stresses that go with being sometimes in charge of those people, what that looks and feel like, talking to a person that really have to walk that walk, not just talk the talk, but walk that walk. In what you do, when you think about self-care, and then when you think about the hours, whether it's because of what the world did to us a couple years ago, and some people are still have the choice now to be at home, but even whether you're at home in a desk or with a suit jacket and a briefcase, all of the demands that are on your life, how do you pause, and what do you do even in the middle of that week when you're in the car and saying just one more meeting? What does that look like for you?
Well, that's a great question. I will tell you that these last 3 years have, like I said before, they have gifted us in many ways, not just to show up or maximize the free spaces of social media, the free points of presence, or even to reevaluate, if you will, how you show up. What I do daily, I'm meditating. I'm doing things I've never done before. And I'm telling you, I know that it's making an enormous difference in everything that I do. So meditating daily. I have a devotion in the morning. I used to play around with it before, but I do it every day now. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest shifts for me outside of the meditation, the devotion, is also realizing who I am and what I need. So I decide daily that I can't just hear a sermon. I need to hear some personal development. I need to kind of hear what's going on. I need my mental health to be, I need to check in with my mental health. I need to hear from counselors. I'm doing a class right now on good boundaries and goodbyes, and learning how to cut some stuff away and say goodbye to some people with love. And so all of those things really weigh us down, and to some degree it's toxic, and we may love our family, for example, but even in loving our families we have to set boundaries with them. And so one of the things that I'm really adamant about right now in this season is being very intentional on what I say, and making sure that I'm heard, or I say what I need to say to whoever the person is.
But with
And
that, I have to like insert real quick because I know it is important for us to get out what we need. But what
Mhm.
happens though in there, because of the self work that you're doing, which is amazing, when you say, I get out what I need to make sure that they're hearing, what happens if then it's still possibly perceived in another way? How do you handle that if
Ooh, I
you're,
love that. I love
yeah,
that question, because a lot of families, a lot of us in our families, they have become conditioned on how they see us. So therefore, they have their own pathology and history on how they receive us, respond to us,
yes.
deposit in us. Well, I get to choose. I get to decide. I get to make a decision on what works best
Mhm.
for my life, on how you handle me and how I handle you. It's really not my business whether you hear me or not. My job is to make sure I have shared it. And if you care and I matter to you, the responsibility and responsibility is on you to receive it and decide what you're going to do with it. I can ask you, hey, what do you think about what I just said? Is there something that you would like to share with me? See, here's what I've come to learn. One of the greatest advantages on this journey is that you can't control if people are going to ever respond to anything you say. They might never, but we're not responsible for that. You can go a year not talking to a family member because they're still mad about something that happened. But did you ever take the time? Did you take the time to say, hey, can we talk about it? And look, let me just say, sometimes it's necessary to have that space. There is nothing wrong with having time away from a person. And I know y'all out there, the Holy Ghost, don't say, well, what happens if the person dies? If they do, I pray that they know the Lord. Because guess what?
No.
It is well with me. Because Shawanna, listen, what we as people, especially women, we have got to find a space to understand that if something is not working well, it's working wrong.
That's
It's
the truth
working
today.
wrong.
That is true. That
It
is
is
so
working
true.
wrong. And so if a person decides they want to have a temper tantrum, they're mad because you still have a whole lot of gunk and junk that you've not dealt with in your life, that's not my problem, nor is it my assault. You hear that? I would not
Mhm.
accept that assault.
Yeah.
They take people to jail for that. So the
Yeah.
point is that I will allow it to be beauty for ashes for me. I will safeguard me. And if the relationship or marriage, whatever it is, or relationship with your parents, and our parents are real good for that. That's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother show. They're really good for it because they birth you. They have an entitlement. No, you don't. No, 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 you
Okay, so
don't.
you're gonna have to pause for one
Yeah,
second
but
because
you do.
there could be a parent watching, right? That may have whether you're a younger child, and I know the different generation, kids definitely respond differently in this generation than they did for
Yes.
us.
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond to that mother, that father, that even that grandparent or guardian with what you just said? How do you help them to understand that?
So I'm going to do a show on this coming up in the next couple months. I believe it's slated for June. We'll have to double check it, but it's really about the reverse of the parental abuse, how children sometimes abuse their parents,
Mm,
and unfortunately, parents forget the fact that they're the ones that laid the foundation. I'll say it again. The parents laid the foundation, or they allowed the foundation to be laid by other people. So I'm no therapist. Let me be very clear here. I've just done a lot of reading. I got friends that are therapists. But the point is that if the relationship matters, there's thousands of people, there's millions of people out there that I know. There's thousands behind, some things that I've done and I've gotten feedback is that there's parents that are really hurt and harmed by the relationships or the lack thereof that they have with their children. But I have to just say this: it's not one person's responsibility. It's both people's responsibility. Even as a child ages or becomes an adult, when a child becomes an adult, you get to decide when that relationship shifts to adult to adult. But at the same time, the parent doesn't get the opportunity just to demean the person that they birthed. They're an adult. It's an adult to adult. It's a respect factor. And unfortunately, when we think about it, I mean, I'm black, you're black, we're women of color. It hasn't been very long. It's only been over 5 decades that civil rights allowed us to operate in spaces that we do. That is not a long time, which is why you still have, like I always say, racism, sexism, all the isms are either taught or caught. And 50 years is not a long time. So therefore, even our parents, some of them, colorism with their children. I mean, I can give you stories in the Bible. Y'all know Esau. Anyway, y'all know the stories. Anyway, there's Cain and Abel. There's tons of stories um, of sibling rivalry. And I believe I've been saying this for a few years, and I said I don't know where the Lord's going to allow me to talk more about it. I believe it's a foundation that's laid by parents. Because parents allow that infighting and allow that drama and that trauma within the family, they lay that, or they'll talk about each other behind each other's back. I just think all of that is nonsense, and it does not garner or build a place or safe space of love. It doesn't. So until we get to that place of saying, look, it's no big eyes, it's no little U's, we're willing to come to the middle together to work through this. You might not even know your kids. If you're a parent on this line, you may not even know your children. You may not know who they are as an adult. You're only going to find that out.
It's within that too. When I think about it, with us both being parents, it's after your children get to certain stages, the relationship actually automatically changes. The stages they change.
It's supposed to.
Well, because I don't want to treat you like a toddler. At some point, I want you to act like an adult, respect me as a parent. Yeah. And then maybe, like you said, it's up to us as adults to then determine how that goes from being mother, but now mother and friend. Mm-hmm. And that those even come through conversation, the communication. When you think about you first and you in communication, how big is communication for you? Because I know you're talking about it and you're expressing yourself, but then you were talking about parents and you were talking about, I know that you are a parent. And when you even get to talk about it in the world and in what you do as a businesswoman, how big is communication when we think about making you a priority, putting you first, and what that really looks and feels like? Because it has to be about us. I say it all the time. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You have to make it a priority.
Well, I would say you have to start with you have to let a woman or a man examine himself. You have to start with yourself. And it's not being selfish, it's not being narcissistic. It's saying, okay, what do I want out of this conversation? What am I hoping to accomplish here? I just believe people just be talking sometimes. I know that's not good English, but you all get it. I believe people just talk. They're just saying whatever comes up, comes out. They're just talking without an end in mind. Without, okay, what's my objective here? So when we do some self-examination, it is, what's the end in mind? What do I hope to accomplish in this dialogue? I say it to mother all the time. You don't want to have dialogue. You want to have monologue. So I'm just gonna let you talk. Monologue is not going to get the dialogue that you want. You have to leave and open a safe space for the person to be able to express themselves. You also have to have some confidence before you even go into these conversations. And sometimes you're going to need some courage.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You're going to need some real courage to have a conversation. Right. Communication is cyclical. It's symbiotic. It's reciprocal. It goes both ways. So one of the things that irritates me the most when it comes to communication, period, is I can't stand when people don't want to respond back. But I also have come to learn that some people prefer not to respond, especially if it's a heated situation or they need time to collect themselves or to adjust. You just have to know your personality. My personality is, let's put the fire out. Come on, let's deal with it. We need to deal with it. But I've also come to learn that I have used some of that as a mechanism because that is what my life has been, to deal with the trouble, deal with the struggle, deal with whatever it
Yeah.
is, and move on. And that's been a lifesaver for me. But here's what I've come to also realize is that somebody can throw you the raft, right? But you got to do the work to get out,
But what
right?
about you? Let's go with you though. You first. And when you know that it this time it's you.
Hmm.
It's you this time. It's not them. It's you. What do you
So
do?
it's me that is, what do I am I
You
am I the
you need
person
to make a
that
shift.
erred?
You
I've
need
erred
to
in my
make,
way.
yeah, you need to make, you know that you need to make, well, you don't even realize it. But then you come to this epiphany and realize that you first need to make this shift.
that
Because
I that I need to make the shift in the dialogue.
yeah, and with you, because it has to start with you before you can even communicate with the other person.
Hmm.
It's like doing that intro, that right, the self work
Hmm.
on the inside before you can then say, I know I need to have this conversation with him or her or whomever, but
Hmm.
I have to deal with the things within me first versus, because I know you say you like, because of business, you like, no, I'm a solutionist. We're fixing this. We are
Correct.
fixing it.
I've always been a fixer, but
Being a,
being a fixer all the time doesn't really resolve. It doesn't create a resolve. It is a fix for the moment.
so what about
But
you? Yeah. Now, how do you
but
get to that with
because I
you?
think
Yeah.
but because I think fast, and I think I'm resolution driven, I think that you have to, okay, we're talking about me. So where I am right now in 2023, it is not just a self-examination, but it's also self-examination. What's the end in mind? I mean, do you know that people have anxiety sometimes getting ready to talk to certain people? Did you know that?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
like, and one of the things that where I am right now in 2023, I'm asking myself, what is that first? Because what happens is you go dump all that on the other person. They may not have anything to do with it. It might be a trigger from something else you experienced, but you don't even know that. So what I'm doing is saying, okay, what am I feeling right through here? Like, why am I feeling this a pit in my stomach? Or why am I feeling like I need to go to the restroom? What is that? Right? Your
Yeah.
body remembers. Our body remembers. Y'all know this. If you don't, there's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score. I'm not getting any money for it either, but it's a great book. There's a lot of great finds out there. So where I am in this space is that if you want to have quality relationships with people, you have to have a quality relationship with you first. No pun intended. Or all pun intended. Now let me correct that. All pun intended. So the communication is having a conversation with me. It's okay. What am I feeling right now? Okay. Could it be a trigger from something this same person did do and you didn't address it before?
Yeah. Yeah.
And because you didn't address it before, y'all know what happens. It just grows. It gets bigger. It becomes a cancer. And at some point, either you blow up. I used to be that person. I would just blow up because I let it go too far. And so outside of having the conversation with yourself, counsel with yourself, you now have to find that courage and confidence to confront the issue. You have to. If you're not willing to confront it, what is the old phrase? If you won't face it, you can't fix it. You can't
Yeah.
change it if you won't face it. So I tell people, if you don't want to face it, then don't complain to me consistently about this headache, because you need to take some
With,
ibuprofen or something and
with
move
the,
on.
even with the facing it, it's even making sure that people understand, well, okay, yes, I need to face whatever this thing is
Mhm.
within, what if it's with a person, but giving it a name. You
You know,
have
that's
we
scary. It's scary sometimes to face things.
Yeah. But I'm saying
It's
you got to give it
uncomfortable.
a name to then even know, what am I about to face? What is
I
it?
don't
It's
know what it is. I don't know what it is. That's where the bravery comes in.
yeah.
That's where the ability, you have to have the ability to be buoyant. You got to be willing to be buoyant, to bounce back. You're gonna have to stick and move. You're gonna have to be buoyant because you can't control. You can't control. You don't know it. You're walking into unknown territory. You don't know what they're gonna say. And guess what? You can't control it, and so what? So
But that,
now
you know what, that's hard. That's hard because
it's very
people
hard.
people want what they want, right? To a
They
degree.
want what they want because a lot of people, grown
Yeah.
folks, are still acting like babies. I said it, I'll say it again. A lot of grown people are still acting like little children because Again, parents didn't require them to grow up. People don't want to have the uncomfortable conversation. One of the things that I can't stand when you just be like, it's okay, it's all right. No, come on, decide. Tell me something. Give me feedback. You have to decide for your own life, whether it's me, whether it's, our children. I mean, they're all grown now. I mean, you only have one that's hanging on by a few more years. But at the end of the day, that's where we get to decide the people that are in our circle too. I mean, come on. I mean, people, CEOs, pastors, leaders around the world, weekly, they're making deposits in the people that they're responsible for. And imagine how hard it is regularly to see people never change. They
Yes.
never change. And you're giving them good word. You're depositing them in them from your work, from the work you're doing, or you're accountable to somebody else or multiple people, and they don't change at all. Some marriages are like that, but I'm gonna leave that alone. That's another conversation. They're not changing at all. I've given you comfort, I've given you counsel, I've given you kindness, I've given you love. I have been willing to hear you out. I've been willing to give you comfort. Been willing to give you good counsel, good godly counsel, and you still won't change. So you know what?
What about when that's with you, when you have talked to yourself, when you've had the conversation, you've looked yourself in the full glass mirror, and you're like, okay, I know what percentage that I believe is on them. But for the percentage that I honestly say, okay, I bought that baby, I got to deal with this baby.
Mm-hmm.
How do you help the person that say, okay, I may, like you said, you may not know what to call it. How do you help that person and say, I then have to stand 10 toes down, and I've got to then deal with me. I got to deal with me first. I got to self first, not just, of course, you mentioned even talking about the goodbyes and the boundaries, right? Boundaries and bye-byes. But it's what happens when you looking in that mirror, and to some degree, it is you, right? Because this is you first. So what is it about you first that you need to get in alignment before you then say, all of that stuff you just said, all of it is relevant, and it is still the other side of the coin. What about the side when you get on that's the tails? What about the head? Of course, outside, of course, us being women of faith, we know who the head of it all is. But when it gives us authority as individual human beings, as being a human being in charge and authority over who we are, right? And the manager of manage the thoughts, right? Because some thoughts, they come from all over the world. We know we get thousands of thoughts every minute. But it's being the manager and him giving you authority to manage those thoughts, manage your actions and the deeds that are done. How do you help that person that's saying, okay, you know what? I gotta, you know what? I'm big girl, big boy britches. I'm 10 toes down. What do you say to that person?
Well, I'm going to say the first thing you're going to have to do is, I'm a woman of faith, so you're going to have to get your face in that word, and you're going to have to get a journal. I mean, because here's the thing. If I believe our greatest tragedy is that we blame other people for everything that's happened to us. That's our greatest tragedy.
Yes.
And when we blame other people, we remain the same because we never are willing to look at who we are and how we contributed. So a person will say, well, yeah, okay, I own that. But do you own it just to own it, or do you own it to own it and shift it and make it something and allow it to become something else? So the beauty of the journaling is one of the reasons why, I mean, I've been journaling since I was a teenager, off and on, but I'm way more consistent now than I've ever been, but mainly so I can see me. And not only see me, so I can see where God changes my heart. I'm so glad you asked this question because I was just looking at, thinking about that scripture that talks about the heart and having a hardened heart. You know, how we can have a hardened heart with people. We can have a hardened heart with things that happen, things that we experience. There was a great book, Oprah co-authored, called What Happened to Them. So getting the understanding of what happened to a person, without making it daunting. I had a reflection with my children recently. We were talking about about my brother's passing, and there were things about me they never knew about me as a child. A lot of things I told them, but there were things I guess I just never thought about. And the mere fact of them looking at photographs of my past as a child, and they were just assessing how I showed up in the room. And my son said, Mom, you had a disposition of just being much older than you were. And I told him, I said, yeah, I was asking myself, why am I here? Somebody come get me, because this is not my life. I really felt that way as a kid. It's real. Y'all listen, if you know me, hey, look, hey, you may not like it, but that's real. I really felt that way. I just didn't know how to articulate that. So one of the greatest gifts that we have and we can give ourselves is journaling, because journaling allows you to look at yourself, and you really can't run from yourself, where it says, okay, I got a bad attitude. I'm really mad right now. I'm mad. I want to bust him in the neck. I want to safari punch him. Boom. Because of what he or she did, right? And so the only way that you can change that hardened heart, God wants us to have a heart of flesh. Like, just let that sit for a minute. He wants our heart to be of flesh, which is soft and tender. We always hear people talk about, oh, you just letting the flesh get in the way. The flesh has value. And God wants our heart to be made of flesh, not hardened. And a lot of times we become hardened because of life's experiences, and it's the only way we know how to protect ourselves. But it also yields relationships that are not fruitful. They're superficial. Oh, you think, oh no, I got a great relationship. I love my husband. I love my wife. Or I love my friend. I love my kids. Do you? How you know? What you willing to do? What are you willing to lay down for them? And not look back. I mean, like, when's the last time you actually ask yourself, what does this relationship really mean to you? So when it comes to what I do, where I am now, it's more or less, how do I contribute to this? I'll give you an example. I have a strained relationship with a family member right now. Let me keep my face together. And I have forgiven this person. I have forgiven the person. But I don't like the way I feel when I'm in their presence. Mm-hmm. I don't like it. I don't like how my body feels. And it's because I don't feel safe in their presence. Mm. So no therapist, no pastor, no leader, no husband, nobody's going to tell me that I need to just go ahead and get over that. Nah, I'm not going to do it, because my body's not going to lie to me. And one of the greatest lessons that we know and that we've learned is that when we are violated or we experience trauma as children, we learn very fast not to trust ourselves. And it takes years to get back to that place of trusting who you are and trusting the Spirit, Holy Spirit that resides within you, trusting your gut instincts, trusting you. And the best way to trust yourself is to journal, make a commitment on things you're going to do, and do it. Yeah, I'm going to get up at 5:30. I'm going to pray. I'm going to exercise devotion. I'm going to exercise. Do it. The more you keep doing it, it's not, the byproduct, you might lose some weight. You may do some other things, feel better. Yeah. But the byproduct, the real byproduct, is that you build trust within you. Yeah. So I believe that if you build trust, once you build trust within you, then that allows you to be able to walk away from nonsense, step up and step out. So that's my encouragement, is that I hope being able to inspire in tonight's conversation that you've been bought with a cost. You're here by design. You're no cosmic coincidence or here by mistake, but you're definitely here to bring something that the earth is missing. No need to be a copycat of anyone else. Just be the original that God has created you to be. So, along with Shawanna, I can't wait to see who that will be.
Ooh, you're right. So again, thank you, Miss Camille Nash, for stopping by. That's right. It is. So thank you. We are so excited. Yes, was that not lovely? Again, we appreciate Camille for stopping by you first, because it is about you, and you. Making yourself a priority is a necessity. So I say, do something today that your future self will thank you for. I'm Shawanna Kennedy, your host of You First. It is about you. I'll see you guys next time.